as you just saw, some cooler weather is finally on the way later this week. News 19 meteorologist Corey Smith explains how this weather could impact fall leaves in the coming months.
We're expecting some pretty cool air to move into the Midlands later this week, and that means we're getting closer and closer to seeing those leaves change on our trees. Of course, that's not coming quite soon. We're going to see that maybe in a month or two from now. But let's talk about the weather conditions right now because they do impact what we will end up seeing. This is data from our partners over at Explore Fall, some great fall leaf information from them. And you can see where we see that change start to typically occur in the Rocky Mountains. That can be as early as right now. And this starts to move down to the south as you go through the next 2 months here in the Carolinas. Our typical leaf change in our mountains is around mid to late October, with November being when we see our leaves start to change here in the Midlands. There's two big factors when it comes to the quality of our leaves, and that's precipitation. The wetter that we are, the more vibrant typically the color that we see. If we're drier, they end up being a little bit more dull. Temperature more so impacts when these leaves start to change over. So a cooler fall will mean that's a little bit earlier on. If we're warmer, that could push things off just a little bit later. Right now, it looks like we are trending a little bit warmer and wetter, and that's been pretty much what we've been seeing for the last few months here across the Midlands. So some good news, hopefully, for our colors that we see a little bit later on in the fall. Let's break things down here a little bit more. You can see drought conditions across the state, not too much of an issue. We do have 1% of moderate drought, but with the soil moisture being pretty high here across the Midlands, I don't see too much concern there. And temperatures through the rest of the month look to be around average after we see this cool stretch over the end of this upcoming week. So getting towards October, we do look to be around average. And these are really the 2 months that have the biggest impact on the quality of our leaf change here across the Carolinas. Let's move on though, because we can take both of these factors and actually look at the stress of plants that we're seeing right now. There's a lot of drought out in the Midwest. So you can see that high stress in that little bit of a darker shade on your screen. We've had a lot of heat across the deep south, so they might have some issues with leaves dropping from trees a little bit earlier there. But here in the Carolinas and really the southeast, looks like that stress level remains low, which is good news for us as we get closer towards October and November. And you can see right now that we're already expecting some of that leaf change to occur in portions of the U.S., so it's only a matter of time before it reaches us here in the Midlands. From the studio, I'm News 19 meteorologist Corey Smith.
All right, thank you, Corey. And according to a report from App State, fall leaf tourism can bring in as much as $30 billion total across the East Coast. And we're